When I moved into my new flat, the letting agent told me the previous tenant had left in a hurry. She said it like it was nothing. People break leases all the time. But she didn't mention the scratches on the inside of the bedroom door. Deep ones, grouped in fives, like someone had dragged their fingers down the wood over and over. She didn't mention that the bathroom mirror had been removed and replaced with a sheet of plywood screwed directly into the wall. And she definitely didn't mention the notebook I found taped to the back of the boiler. 40 pages of handwritten tallies. One marked for every night the previous tenant had slept there. Next to each tally, the same 2 words. It watched. I was 24. It was my first flat on my own. A 1-bed in a converted Victorian terrace in Leeds. High ceilings, drafty windows, cheap rent. I told myself the scratches were from a dog. The plywood was a bodge job. The notebook was someone's idea of a joke. I threw it in the bin and I got on with unpacking. The first 2 weeks were normal. Quiet street, friendly neighbours, nothing unusual. I slept fine. I started to forget about the notebook entirely. Then I woke up one night. I don't know what woke me, and my phone was on. It was lying on the mattress beside my pillow, screen bright, open to the camera app, selfie mode. I picked it up, confused, and I checked my photo gallery. The last photo had been taken at 3:12 AM, 12 minutes before I woke up. It was a photo of me, sleeping, taken directly above my face, no more than a foot away. My eyes were closed, my arms were flat at my sides, palms up. I don't sleep like that. I sleep on my side, one arm under the pillow. In this photo, I was laid out like a body on a table. I sat up and turned on every light in the flat. I checked the front door, locked, chain on. I checked the windows, all shut. I checked under the bed, inside the wardrobe, behind the shower curtain. No one, nothing. I was alone. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. In the morning, I told myself I'd done it in my sleep. Sleepwalking, sleep selfies. People do strange things unconscious. I almost believed it. 3 nights later it happened again. 3:12 AM. Same position. Flat on my back. Arms at my sides. Palms up. A pose I have never once slept in willingly. I brought a cheap security camera, mounted it on top of my wardrobe, pointed at the bed, set it to record at night. If something was in my flat, I'd see it. If I was sleepwalking, I'll see that too. Either way, I'd know. I reviewed the footage the next morning. 7 hours of me sleeping, normal, on my side, arm under my pillow, exactly how I always sleep, until 2:50 AM. At 2:50, the footage distorted, static, pixel corruption, horizontal lines cutting across the frame. Not a glitch, it was rhythmic, pulsing, like interference from a signal. It lasted exactly 90 seconds. I timed it. At 2:51 and 30 seconds, the image snapped back to normal. I was lying flat on my back, arms at my sides, palms up, and the notebook, the one I'd thrown away in the bin 2 weeks earlier, was on the pillow beside my head. Open to a fresh page, a new tally mark had been added. The handwriting wasn't mine. It was the same writing as the 40 pages before it. The previous tenant's writing, in a notebook that had been sitting in a wheelie bin for 14 days. Next to the tally were 2 words. Not, "It watched." Not this time. It said, "Almost learned." I contacted the letting agency. I said I needed to speak to the previous tenant. They said they couldn't give out personal information. I pushed. I begged. Eventually, a junior staff member gave me an email address off the record. She replied once. She agreed to a phone call. 5 minutes. Her voice was flat and exhausted, like someone who'd already told this story to people who didn't believe her. She said she started sleepwalking in that flat, that she started waking up in rooms she hadn't walked to, standing in the kitchen, standing in the bathroom, once standing in the hallway outside the flat with the door open behind her. Then she started finding bruises she didn't remember getting, on her wrist, on her collarbones, in places you'll hold someone if you were learning how a body moves. She said one thing I haven't been able to stop thinking about. She said, "It doesn't want you to leave. It wants to learn how to be you, and when it's finished learning, I don't know what happens to the person it's been practicing on." I broke the lease the next day, lost my deposit, moved back in with my parents. I told them it was a mould problem. My mum pulled me aside after the first week. She said I'd been talking in my sleep, not mumbling, clear, articulate sentences in a voice she said didn't quite sound like mine. She said it sounded like someone doing an impression of me, close, but slightly wrong, like the rhythm of the words belonged to someone who hadn't learned by listening. I set up one more camera. The night before I left the flat, I recorded myself one final time. I told myself I needed to know. At 3:12 a.m, I sit up in bed, my eyes open. I reach over, pick up my phone, hold it above my face, and take a photo. Then I lie back down. I did it myself. My hands, my phone, my body. But the way I moved, stiff, mechanical, delayed, like a puppet being operated by someone who'd only recently learned how joints work. That wasn't me. Something was practicing, and I don't think it stopped when I left. My son was 7 years old when I heard a woman singing to him through the baby monitor. It was 2:40 in the morning. My wife was asleep next to me. The monitor was on the bedside table. Audio only, no screen, just a small white box with a green light that flickered when it picked up sound. The green light was pulsing steadily, and through the static I could hear it clearly. A woman's voice, low and soft, singing a lullaby. It wasn't a song I recognised, not Twinkle Twinkle, not Rockabye Baby, not anything from the playlist we used to settle him. It was a melody I'd never heard, slow, repetitive, turning back on itself like a music box winding down. And underneath the singing, I could hear my son, not crying, cooing, gurgling in rhythm, as though he was trying to join in. I ran down the hall. 5 seconds, I opened this door and hit the light. The room was empty. The cot was against the far wall. My son was lying on his back, awake, perfectly still. His eyes were open and fixed on the top left corner of the ceiling. He was smiling, not the way babies smile when they see you. Unfocused, soft. This was locked on. He was smiling at something Pacific, in a Pacific place, and that something was not me. I picked him up. He didn't look at me. His eyes stayed on that corner for another 3 or 4 seconds before they drifted to my face. The singing had stopped the moment I opened the door. The monitor was silent. The green light was still. I stood in that room holding my son and feeling a type of fear I didn't know existed before I became a parent. The fear that something is close to your child and you don't know what it is. I told my wife in the morning. She said I'd been dreaming. I said the monitor light was pulsing. She said monitors pick up interference, radio signals, other devices. She was rational about it. I wanted to be rational too. 2 nights later, 2:40 a.m, the monitor pulsed green. The same voice, same melody, slower this time, like it was being sung from further away. And again, beneath it, my son's voice, cooing, gurgling, trying to match the pitch. This time I didn't run in. I lay in my bed and recorded it on my phone. 3 minutes and 12 seconds of a woman singing to my son in a dark room when no woman was present. The next day I played the recording on a loop. I ran the melody through Shazam. Nothing. I searched lyric databases. Nothing. I hummed it into Google. Nothing. The melody didn't exist anywhere I could find it. That evening, I called my mum. I don't know why. Instinct? Maybe. I hummed the melody to her over the phone. 8 notes. Simple. Repetitive. She went quiet. Not thinking quiet. Frozen quiet. "Where did you hear that?" she said. I told her. The baby monitor. Someone singing to Theo at night. She said, "That's not a real lullaby. That's something your nan used to hum. My mum, she hummed it when she was doing housework, when she was sitting in the garden, when she was putting me to sleep. She never told me what it was. I asked her once and she said she didn't know. She said she'd always known it, like it had been in her head before she had words." My nan died in 1996. She never recorded the melody. She never wrote it down. My mum hadn't hummed it in over 20 years. She said hearing it from me made her feel like the floor had shifted. I set up a video camera in the nursery. I pointed it at the cot and I recorded overnight. At 2:40 a.m, my son woke, not crying. His eyes opened and went straight to the top left corner of the ceiling. He stared at it, then he smiled, and then his lips started moving. 7-month-old babies don't form words. They babble, they coo, but they don't move their lips with intention. My son's lips were moving in a deliberate, repeating pattern, opening and closing in shapes that looked like a language, like someone was teaching him how to speak before he was ready. I showed the footage to my wife. She watched it once and put the phone face down on the table. She said, "Move the cot into our room, tonight." We moved it that night. The singing stopped. No more monitor activity. No more 2:40 a.m. wake-ups. For 2 weeks, everything was normal. But I started dreaming. Every night, the same dream. A woman standing at the foot of a cot in a dark room. Grey hair, floral dress, hands folded in front of her. She wasn't looking at the baby. She was looking at me. And she was humming. The same 8 notes. Over and over. Not comforting. Patient. Like she had all the time in the world. I woke up every morning at exactly 2:40 a.m, without fail. My wife said I hummed in my sleep now. She said it started about a week after we moved the cot. She said it was the same melody from the monitor. I didn't know I was doing it. I still don't, when it happens. We moved house last year. New build estate, no history. Plasterboard walls, plastic windows. Not a single thing older than 18 months. I told myself it was over. 3 weeks after we moved in, I woke at 2:40 a.m. I walked to Theo's room. He was 2 by then, in a toddler bed. I opened the door. He was standing at the baby gate across his doorway, not crying, not calling for us, standing with his hands on the gate, staring down the dark hallway, perfectly still, humming. The same 8 notes, my nan's melody, a song no living person taught him, in a house with no history, in a room he'd only slept in for 21 nights. and from somewhere in the house. Not from a speaker, not from a monitor, not from any device. I heard a woman's voice join in, softly, from inside the walls, harmonizing with my 2-year-old son in the dark. I picked him up. He looked at me and said the first clear sentence he'd ever spoken at that hour. "Nana sings it better." We never used that word. We don't call anyone Nana. He'd never heard it from us. But my mother did. That's what she called her mum, and she never told anyone. In February 2023, 2 police officers knocked on my front door at 7 a.m. I'd been asleep 20 minutes earlier. I opened the door in a t-shirt and boxers, half conscious, assuming it was a delivery. One of them asked if I was okay. I said yes. He asked if anyone else was in the property. I said no, I live alone. He looked at his colleague, then he asked if I'd made a call to 999 the previous night. I said I hadn't. I'd been asleep since midnight. My phone was on my bedside table. I hadn't touched it. He said, "A call was made from your mobile at 3:17 this morning. Can we come in?" I let them in. They checked every room. Empty. All windows locked. Nothing disturbed. Everything exactly as I left it when I went to bed. Then the police officer sat me down in my kitchen and played me the recording. It was my voice, not similar to my voice. My voice, calm, clear, giving my full address, including the postcode. And then I said, "There's someone standing over my bed and they won't tell me their name." The operator asked me to repeat that. I said it again, word for word, same flat tone. Then the line went dead. I sat at my kitchen table and I listened to myself say words I had no memory of speaking. The officer asked if I sleepwalk. I said I never have. He asked if I'd been drinking. I hadn't. He asked if I'd been taking any medication. I hadn't. He wrote everything down, gave me an instant number, and told me to call my GP. Before they left, one of them stopped in the hallway. He turned and said, "Your front door was unlocked when we arrived. The latch and deadbolt. You said you live alone." I always lock the door, every night. Chain, latch, deadbolt. I've been doing it since I moved in. It's automatic. I checked that night's routine in my head. I remembered locking it. I remembered the click of the deadbolt. Someone unlocked it from the inside during the night, while I was asleep, or while something was using my hands. I called my GP. She said sleep disorders can cause complex behaviours, phone calls, conversations, even cooking. She referred me to a sleep clinic. The appointment was 8 weeks away. I installed a camera in my bedroom that night. For the first 6 nights, nothing. I slept normally. The door stayed locked. My phone stayed on the table. On the 7th night, the camera picked up movement at 3:15 a.m. I watched myself sit up in bed, slowly. Not the way you sit up when you wake. Groggy, disorientated. I sat up like I'd been waiting, eyes open, staring straight ahead at the bedroom wall. I sat like that for 90 seconds without moving. Then I turned my head, slowly, smoothly, like it was on a track, and looked directly at the camera. Not near it, at the lens, as though I knew exactly where it was and exactly what it was recording. Then I smiled. I don't smile like that. The expression was wrong, too wide, too deliberate, like a muscle test, like someone checking that smiling was something this face could do. After 11 seconds, I lay back down and didn't move for the rest of the night. I showed the footage to my flatmate from university, the only person I trusted not to think I was losing my mind. He watched it 3 times. He said, "That doesn't look like you. It's your body, but that's not how you move." He was right. The movements in the footage are mine in the way a photocopy is yours. All the details are there, but something in the texture is off. I went to sleep clinic. They monitored me for 2 nights. I slept normally. No events, no calls. The consultant said my results were unremarkable. He used that word, unremarkable. I wanted to show him the footage, but I didn't. I knew how it would look. A man obsessed with a blurry night vision video of himself sitting up in bed. I'd sound like every paranoid person who ever walked into a clinic looking for validation. 3 months went by. Nothing happened. I started to relax. I stopped checking the camera. I stopped locking the door with the chain. Just a deadbolt, like a normal person. Then in May, my neighbour knocked on my door. An older woman, Margaret. She'd lived next door for 12 years. She said she didn't want to alarm me, but she seen me standing in my back garden at around 3 in the morning the previous night. She got a knock for water and seen me through her kitchen window. She said I was standing in the middle of the lawn, still, barefoot, facing her house, not moving. She said she watched me for almost a minute before going back to bed. She said the thing that unsettled her wasn't that I was outside. It was my face. She said I was smiling. I requested the original 999 recording through a subject access request. I listened to it over 40 times. My voice was calm. My voice gives my address. My voice says someone is standing over my bed. But here's what I can't stop thinking about. The operator asked me a question at the end, just before the call cuts out. She says, "Can you describe the person standing over you?" There's a pause, 2 seconds, and then, just before the line dies, I hear myself say one word. It's faint, barely a whisper. Me.